How do you get a room full of teenagers and 65-plus-year-olds to laugh like this? Simple. You ask them to make up some dance moves or create a handshake. It is all part of Mind the Gap, a New York City workshop with one goal: helping two generations from two very different times use the art of theater to learn from and teach each other about their lives. It is a conversation that is particularly relevant right now. Okay. You may have seen OK Boomer trending all over the internet.
Okay, Boomer.
Or if you're a baby boomer like me, on your television.
What the young people are saying to the old people now.
That's it.
Okay, Boomer.
Okay, Boomer.
It's an age-old story, updated with music and memes. One generation blaming its elders for the world's problems, and the other accusing its younger half of being too lazy to fix them. Here, though,
Find a partner of the opposite generation.
that narrative is turned on its head.
You've made me just so much more confident about myself.
For the last 8 weeks, this group has challenged themselves to see past their differences and create meaningful connections.
I was blown away.
You're one of the kindest people I've ever met.
My friend and NBC News colleague Savannah Sellers, nearly 40 years my junior, joined in on the fun with me. We wanted to understand this generational divide and whether it is truly possible to bridge it.
Who was surprised? Someone had to be surprised in this process.
I was just surprised, how relatable they are. When you see an older person, like yourself, you think, wow, they haven't been in high school for a long, long time.
This OK Boomer meme online began out of this place that was young people feeling like older people think everything with us is a kid problem, but really, young people are like, but there's no Social Security, boomers aren't moving, they're staying alive longer.
It's just difficult to care about politics when the older generation is inadvertently causing problems that are affecting our future.
There were so many things that were going on that the boomers were able to actually lighten for your arrival. But I'm not taking any credit for it, and I'm not pulling any punches. I'm just saying that if you're alive and well, no matter what age you are, you need to stand up for the rights of everyone, and then we can move forward.
Before there was OK Boomer, there was Don't Trust Anyone Over 30. So
that is so from our era, right?
I was coming of age. I thought there was a progress, and it was just going to get better and better and better and better. And somewhere along the way, that became untrue. And I think this generation is coming into kind of the backwash of the same problems being as urgent as they were when I was their age.
It's human nature to blame people for what we have to face, but I really don't think it's effective.
Do you feel like we're listening to each other in our world?
I think boomers tried their best to sympathize with us. They try to learn.
I think Gen Zers, because of technology, it's harder to interact with them. They're not as good with conversation. I think they're a little more self-righteous. They're not as humbled. They're so idealistic by the world, they haven't really gotten knocked down yet.
It feels like generational differences are one of the last frontiers where we seem to think it's okay to stereotype. It's supposed to be funny. Cynthia doesn't think it's funny.
I think we're just focusing on certain people, whereas I don't think the general population feels that way. I really don't find that the reality.
So I'm 68 years old. Everybody I work with is younger than I am. And I live in mortal fear. Am I the crazy old guy?
You're under-evaluating yourself because you have meaning too.
But we wonder, people of our age, if our meaning is meaning to others.
At my job, I really felt like they were actively saying, okay, these elder people cost more money, they have their health care is more. I really did feel that I was just being edged out.
The people who have validated me the most or supported me the most were boomers. I've had a wonderful experience with my grandmother. She's always made me feel great about myself. And these people have done the same.
I think that there might be some gems here that the younger people can pick up on, as well as they have a lot of things that can enhance me and make me a better person. It makes us a universal existence.
It's a big world. If 7 elders can come into space and empathize with 7 teens purposely, then this world can be better.